Well, hello there, motherfuckers, and I'm coming at you with a clean-shaven little video here. We're going to talk about one of my favorite YouTubers, Boogie2988, who I've mentioned a few times when I've done favorite YouTube channels or, videos just themed on, like, who's the best on here. And I really like the guy, I do. Which is, probably going to come as a surprise to, the criticism I'm going to offer here in this video to Boogie. Now, Boogie's got a few million subscribers, very successful on here. Not as successful as, some of the other conglomerates on here, like Jenna Marbles or, PewDiePie. Like, those are the cream of the crop of YouTube. But if someone was to get, millions of followers and they didn't have to cater to certain people or whatever, I would say that Boogie deserves what he got. He's very entertaining. He's a good talker. He makes good vlog videos. His rambling series is something that I really like a lot. But let's be perfectly honest with this guy's claim to fame is. It's the fact that he's as big as a goddamn house. The fact that he's fat. And he's lost a lot of weight. He got surgery. And, he's lost a lot of weight. He went from being 600 pounds. He's now like 400 something pounds. Whatever the case may be. And, I'm sorry. But, when I look at somebody that big, that obese, it's kind of hard for me to really feel bad about the person. Unless they have a medical condition. Let me explain, guys. So, my cousin had thyroid cancer. And as we all know, that when you lose control of your thyroid, you start to gain excessive amounts of weight. And it's beyond your control. Now, she got a similar surgery. It might have not been the same exact one that Boogie got. It was like a stomach stapling thing where they, and they also do stuff to the stomach and the intestines, to make you eat less, make you lose weight faster. So she was nowhere around the size of Boogie, but she was, you could say she was definitely obese. She was very overweight, but it was beyond her control. It was, it's a medical problem. It was cancer, one of the worst diseases that you could have. And thyroid cancer could be really serious. And, luckily, she went into remission. And she's still good to this day. But the thing is, when I see somebody like Boogie on the street, I don't have any sympathy, really. And I'm not saying that as a horrible person, but there's so many things in the world, situations that people can't help. Those are the people that deserve your help, your sympathy, your attention, everything. Now, I'm not saying you should be mean to Boogie and, you should just totally ignore this guy. He's not a beggar, which is a good thing. You never hear him asking for money for the surgery or anything like that. He got it himself. So, that's good. That's admirable. He's never sunk that low. He's only entertained, which is why I'm not tearing him apart. But when I see this guy on YouTube half the time, I have to think that this guy, he brings a lot of it on himself. Now, I can relate. This guy has, motherly issues. His mom was really fucked up to him. And, he turned out the way he did. And that he can't help. I could tell you that. I could speak from experience on that as well. You can't help sometimes when you're a product of your upbringing. You can fight, but you gotta remember, that's your parents and it's bred into you. And, sometimes you just can't escape certain things. And, let's face it, there's mental illness runs in Boogie's family. So, of course, don't have to tell you that obviously Boogie is mentally ill to a certain degree. Obviously the guy was suicidal. He admits he gained all this weight to try to commit suicide because he wasn't happy with his life. And he wasn't happy, thinking back, we still haven't heard about the abuse and all that. We still haven't heard all the stories. And I don't blame the guy. He's pretty public as it is. There's, for him to elaborate on that is going to take a lot for him to sit down and make that kind of video. And he will be judged. And, I do appreciate the guy's honesty. But most recently, and the guy refuses to even acknowledge this or talk about it, he had a recent divorce. Right before he had his surgery, he divorced his wife and everything. And that can't be helped. You know what the divorce rate is. I'm not saying that's not a problem. But we were led to believe that, this was just two people that didn't get along. Boogie's got a lot of problems. He got mental issues. He's got the weight issues. So, it kind of can't blame the woman for, not being able to really handle that. And I'm sure there was probably problems with her too, of course. But what we found out was that Boogie was dating a webcam girl from, a few sources here on the internet. And I'm just kind of sitting back and I'm like, we found out the timeline of, said affair with the cam girl. And, it's a cam girl. Why would you, and it's not like, Boogie, got the quick, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. He was dating her, supposedly. And I think he answered this also on Twitter, but I've noticed he's been yeah, he did, I think. But, I don't really go on Twitter that much. I'm not active on there at all. But he was on there, and he answered some questions, I believe, and he actually admitted to it. But the timeline was he wasn't yet officially divorced from his wife, and he was going around with this cam girl when they were like still together or still living together, whatever the case may be. And you just have to say, like, well, there you go. I mean, Boogie praised this woman to the moon, and I'm not the cam girl, but his wife, and talked about how much support she gave him and everything like that, and whatever the case may be. But a cam girl, a girl that sells her body for money on the internet to a bunch of pervy guys. I mean, this is who you want to date. Now, that's a huge hurdle to overcome, and I'm not saying that, cam girls don't deserve love and attention. But when Boogie is the way how he is, and, first of all, I don't think anybody should get involved in their right mind unless, you're like in a similar profession, I suppose, if you're a male. And that's kind of hard to even think or put my feet in those shoes. But I'm just kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, Boogie, you just got through a divorce. You got a major surgery coming up. You've already got all these mama issues. And, you've got so much going on. Why would you, of all the women you could pick, the women that you can meet, that you could talk to and all, why would you get with a cam girl? When you do all these rambling series, you do all these videos talking about how you want to overcome your problems. And that's the thing. Listen to Boogie is very motivational. You listen to the guy, you hear a guy trying and everything. But, it's kind of like you listen to these videos, and it's almost like what he's saying is a waste of time. Now, he got the surgery, so, he is trying to better himself, but he's hitting all these other roadblocks along the way, and that people are giving him advice and everything, because the guy is, he's got this huge following and notoriety. And the other thing is, he's also got people that are, non-YouTube supporting him in his personal life. He talks about it all the time. And I'm sure there's people who told him that that was not a good idea, that was not a good relationship to get into, and he did it anyway. And, probably the worst thing I have to say is even being a fan of him. I see it all the time in the comments on his videos. This guy, even before his surgery, people were saying you're a beautiful person the way how you are, don't ever change. You gotta say the guy is 600 pounds. you know, and you're saying, please don't change. So a guy that's basically a walking heart attack. I mean, God bless the man. I mean, God must be smiling upon him for keeping him alive as long as he has, because there's been people, and you think of the celebrities and everything, who have been around the same age as Boogie, like in the early 40s, and they've weighed less than him, and they still died from like heart attacks or strokes or you name it, things related to the weight, and these people are like, they're so politically correct. God forbid they be misconstrued as body shaming the man. They go on his video and they say the guy, now that people say he's looking good, I even left a comment on there. The guy's made some really beyond noticeable progress in his weight. But prior to the surgery, people were like telling him that, I don't think they said that he looked good, but they were saying like, don't I'm like, and I saw that people would sometimes go against this, and they would get flamed on in his comment section for saying like, Boogie is never gonna get anywhere with all this positive reinforcement for his bad behavior. His fans don't hold him accountable for anything. When he makes a bad decision or whatever the case may be, his fans give him a pass. They tell him he's a beautiful person and this and that. I feel like if the guy committed a murder and then he made a video about it the next day, the fans will forgive him, which is very surprising as to why he hasn't made a video on YouTube about the cam girl situation when just about all his followers know about it. But you notice that they won't mention it in the comments or anything like that. And I even commented, I says, Boogie, you should be addressing this. Enough about your broken arm and everything like that. People break bones all the time. But, you got this situation where everyone's asking these questions. They're making hundreds of videos about you here on YouTube. Well, maybe it hasn't reached 100, but I see in the related videos, people are always making videos about you, Boogie. And okay, so a lot of it's a lot of nonsense and everything, but you gotta stop sitting on the fence about everything. The guy played this through the whole entire like 2016 election. He did this multiple times with other things. When Anita Sarkeesian treated him like a giant pile of shit and embarrassed him in front of the entire internet, in front of the entire world, pretty much, or at least multiple countries, that were doing a live feed from VidCon or wherever it was. She embarrassed him on the panel, when they were doing the little panel over there at the event, and Boogie was like, I don't have a problem with her. I'm like, Boogie, please, the girl acted fucked up to you. It's not like this girl is your boss at your job or something, and you're like scared to say something. Go ahead and light her ass up on the internet. If anything, it would get you more thumbs up, more views. But Boogie's like, I don't want to start any trouble. Anita said, and at that point, I was just face palming. Total face palm city there. Where I was like, Boogie, come on, man. And this is what you'll see. It's like, you see people like this all the time. You see people like with lost causes. I even had a friend like this at a previous job. Where he was Snapchatting with a girl, and he was sending her stuff like through the mail, like sending her money, and she'd wear the things on these feeds and everything. And I remember asking him like, "Oh, okay, so like, are you just Snapchatting with her?" And he's like, well, no, it's just like everybody sends her things, she gives a P.O. box or whatever, and they all send her stuff. And I'm just like, man, what a life to lead, that, you'd get so upset with some girl on the internet that you'd want to, like, send her stuff. even though you don't have any exclusivity to her. Well, oh, you know, Boogie was with her, but I'm sure he didn't have exclusivity to her, because, you know, even if that was who she was only dating Boogie, she has to make money, right? So after they go on their little date or do the do the McNasty there, you know, she go right on the internet and start showing it off, basically. So I don't understand that. You know, Boogie, you know, the man is like, I don't want to say well traveled, because, you know, there were times when the guy didn't even leave the house supposedly, but, you know, he'd go to VidCon and all these other places and Too Many Games and all these other video game and YouTube conventions. But, you know, the guy's been around the block. He knows what he's talking about. He's an intelligent guy. You listen to him. He's well-spoken. He's talked to people. He's got friends. He's got family. So he's not really that antisocial as he might let on. And you can just tell the way he presents himself in his videos. He don't sound like your average neckbeard. He don't sound like a total hopeless nerd or, you know, just hopeless loser. And he's not. I mean, you know, it's hard to call the guy a loser or anything like that when he's got that many subs and that much success on YouTube. So, you know, the thing is, it's just the guy's got a lot of problems. He's got a lot of issues. And, you know, he just keeps piling it on. And his fans, you know, the list keeps piling the guy's problems. And, you know, people are just keep cutting him a break every single, you know, minute of the day. Positive reinforcement out the ass, you know, and this is why he keeps going the way he's going, because he looks at the comments. It makes him feel good about himself. He feels bad. Look, Boogie, I'm sure, is a really nice guy, unless it's all an act, but he seems very genuine most of the time when I watch his videos. So I kind of look at the vids, and I'm like, you know, this is a guy that's just a bit confused. He's had problems. And, you know, I just kind of look at it like he just has a few issues that he's not going to be able to get over. But, you know, he uses YouTube as a platform to try to talk to people, try to, I guess, you know, find himself. And I can appreciate that. You know, he kind of uses YouTube as a, you know, as a therapy session. And he has a therapist in real life, as he's mentioned. So you can't accuse the guy of not seeking help. But, you know, there's certain things where he just needs to stop and think for a moment, like with the cam girl. I mean, like, you know, and why his fans are not calling them out on this. Like, you know, forget about hurting the guy's feelings. I know that's priority number one today. You don't want to, you know, upset, or you don't want to acknowledge. You know, it's like all these people in Hollywood. You know, people that complain, oh, you're outing them and everything like that, instead of holding them responsible for their actions. You know, it's the same thing with Boogie. You know, hold the guy responsible for his actions. And maybe, you know, the guy reads his comments and everything. You see what he does. He's got great fan participation, and he doesn't ignore the fans at all. You know, he follows along what they say. He makes videos based on the feedback. So if you guys would, like, hold him more accountable in the comment section, then he'd probably be a lot less likely to do half the shit he does. He only does it because he looks at it like, oh, well, I guess everything I'm doing is fine. You know, sometimes people need that type of wake-up call. You got to tell them. And since, you know, YouTube is his claim to fame, you know, that's the thing. But I think people are a little bit selfish. They, you know, Boogie and the weight, it's his character, it's what he's known for, the whole Francis routine. You know, think about it. Like, the whole Francis videos that he does, would they really be as funny if he wasn't that overweight when you think about it? Because the whole thing is that, you know, Francis is supposed to be, you know, a total helpless loser and all that, and, like, the world's biggest nerd. And, you know, if the guy was like some skinny mini, you know, it probably wouldn't have gained the popularity that it has gained on YouTube as far as Boogie's characters. So, you know, like I said, it's kind of like a recipe for disaster in a way, and in a way, it's not his fault. You know, he's still at the end of the day responsible for his actions. You could talk about the guy's mom and everything like that. But if we all did that, then we wouldn't be holding ourselves responsible for anything in life. You know, we'd always be blaming other people for what we did. At the end of the day, you make your own choices, right? And that's what Boogie does, and he needs to be held accountable. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Check out my other videos, subscribe, click the bell, and until next time.